Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be a part of this wonderful day. I'm in Florida right now. I am from Birmingham, Alabama, the South. And a lot of people ask, how does a girl from Birmingham, Alabama, which typically never sees snow, end up in a winter sport? Well, that was never a dream of mine. As a 9-year-old, I had dreams of going to the Olympics, the Summer Olympics in track and field. My track coach one day told me that I could be the next Jackie Joyner Kersee. So that was my dream as a child. I learned the national anthem. That was just where I wanted to be. I wanted to represent my country in track and field. Had the opportunity to try out twice in 1996 for the Atlanta Games and 2000 for the Sydney Games. Failed to make both teams with the several surgeries and different injuries that most athletes go through. And at that time I was 26 years old, I was married, but I wanted to start a family. And so at that point, I felt like God was opening up another door for me. At the Olympic trials for track and field, my husband spotted a sign. One of the bobsled drivers was still recruiting track and field athletes because you need speed in order to get the sled moving to have a fast time and finish. We saw the sign, basically tried out as a joke, just to go home and say, hey, guess what I did over the weekend? I didn't make it in track and field, but I tried out for the bobsled team. The only thing I knew about bobsled was the movie Cool Runnings. That's the only thing that I could relate the sport to, but I did really well. 6 weeks later, I was invited to Germany to learn how to push a bobsled. 18 months later, I was standing on the podium hearing the national anthem, receiving a gold medal.
To that, in the sport of bobsled, we recruit athletes from all over. Similar to Vonetta, I ran track and field as well in upstate New York. I was a 5-time All-American track and field. And kind of similar to Vonetta, there was one day when I was actually watching the 1988 games on TV. And at that time, I was an RA, resident assistant in my dorms. And I remember thinking to myself, it's like, man, these guys competing, like they're no more, I don't know if these guys are any more athlete than I am, whatever. So it just so happened that at that time, I was preparing for a national track and field championship. And a newspaper reporter he was doing his homework, he was asking me, well, what are your hobbies and interests? And just to be smart, I said, I like Olympic bobsled. So he put that comment into a newspaper article, and it just so happens that a gentleman who was on the '88 Olympic team, his mother, she was in my hometown. She saw the article. She sent the article to her son in Lake Placid. He came down from Lake Placid to my track and field workout and said, "Hey, kid, you want to try out for bobsled?" And at that time, I was 21 years old. I was in the right place at the right time, and he asked me to come on up to Lake Placid to go take a battery of tests. At that time, it was the six-item test. I had to do like a 30-meter, 60-meter, 100-meter sprint, a vertical jump, a horizontal jump, and a shot put toss. After that, you score X number of points, and then you're invited to a push competition where I performed very, very well as a young 21-year-old. I didn't know any better. I just like, well, I'm gonna just try this, and stumbled into it and continued to do it for about 10 years of my life. Ultimately ended up competing in about 2 Olympic Games in '92 and '94. So my point is that, again, our athletes come from many, many sports, many of them from track and field. One of our coaches, Brian Scheimer, he came from wrestling. We have guys who are swimmers. So there's all kinds of incredible athletes. So that's my little bit of my background. But let's see, I guess the next question is, so share a bit about when bobsled entered the picture as a transition after you were done with track, or as fresh while pursuing track, but an opportunity as an Olympic team spot. So after you met, I think you met, was it Bonnie? Was it Bonnie Warner that brought you in?
Yes, she was the one that introduced the sport. Like Chris said, you do the 6-item test. They're basically testing you for speed and strength. And I did well. I went over to Germany, like I said, to learn how to push. And I wasn't the only one. So there were other girls that were at the Olympic trials trying out for track and field that didn't make it as well. So basically for a week, we were been timed and tested and taught how to push a sled because most of us had never seen a bobsled ever in our lives. But that's just a process of it. And then a month later, actually went to Park City, Utah, and to actually get on the track and take my first ride down. And a lot of people ask, how did it feel going down the bobsled the very first time? And the only way I can explain it is, you think it's like a roller coaster, a smooth roller coaster, and at the time I loved roller coasters. But to me, it felt like I'd been placed in a trash can and thrown downhill. It was not fun at all. I was scared out of my mind, and when it was over, it was like, what have I gotten myself into? I was sore, it was scary. I don't want to do that. I want to go to the Olympics, but I don't think I want this route to get there. But eventually it got better, more trips that I took down the track. I don't know about you, Chris, the first time you went down, what was your experience like?
Well, it's kind of funny, actually.